Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Truly is. Before we get started, let me give you my usual disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next, if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. Really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Okay, so today, this is actually a fairly new story. It's about like a year old. But there's little to no coverage on this girl, and I'm shocked by that. On the other hand, that's what we're here for, right? To get the stories out that nobody really talks about. Okay, here we go. So buckle up because this is a doozy. I promise you. And up until the very end, you're still going to be mind blown. 26-year-old Courtney Desiree Spraggins was born on March 3rd, 1995 in Santa Rosa, California, to parents Norman and Kimberly. In 2022, she was living in North Carolina with her mother and stepfather. She was a veterinary assistant and a nursing assistant. She loved animals, photography, traveling, and listening to music.
He was very vivacious, full of energy, spitfire.
Courtneys Spraggins grew up doing competitive cheer. She loved to dance, bake, and her job.
Working with animals at the hospital in North Carolina. She was a registered CNA. Anything that was a challenge, she loved to do.
But most of all, Kimberly says Courtney loved her two children.
At 26 years old, she was just full of energy. Aside from all that, she loved being a mother. Her babies were her world.
She was also the mother of two children, a little boy named Jesse and a little girl named Kinsley. It's not clear why she was no longer with the father of her two children, but she wasn't. It's also not clear why she was in North Carolina and her babies were in Treon, Georgia. A couple of years ago, she would end up meeting 28-year-old David McCoy on Tinder, a free dating site and the place where the phrase swipe left, swipe right would become popular. And the two would begin a long-distance, on-again, off-again relationship. When Courtney would travel to Treon to visit her kids, she would always stop by Huntsville, Alabama on her way back to North Carolina so that she could visit McCoy. Because Huntsville's around 2 hours away from Treon, where the kids were. David was a former Marine before joining the Huntsville, Alabama Police Department in July of 2019. Courtney was 7 months pregnant at this time with a little girl that she planned to name Addison May and that McCoy had fathered. It is said that McCoy was not excited about the new baby that was on the way. This would actually be the second baby that McCoy fathered with Spraggins. Sadly, the first pregnancy resulted in a miscarriage. December 14th, 2021, Courtney quits her job as a veterinary assistant and packs up her belongings to move to Huntsville, Alabama to live with McCoy and to raise their baby girl together. This would also mean that she would be much closer to her son and her daughter. So it was like a win-win all the way around. December 17th, 2021, Courtney heads to Huntsville to start her new life. But once she gets there, McCoy tells her that he needs more time. So Courtney goes back home. According to her mom, during a visit with McCoy that was just prior to Thanksgiving of 2021, and after finding out that Courtney was pregnant, McCoy took her out to a cornfield in his truck. He put a gun to his head and said that he was going to unalive himself. So this obviously spooked Courtney so much that she decided to move to her mother and her stepfather's home in Maryland. After she left, she would end up texting McCoy asking him what it was that he wanted her to do, to which he replied, "A bullet to the head would be nice." You fucking piece of shit. You are garbage. How dare you say something like that? Okay, so here's my thing. If you didn't want a baby, then wrap it the fuck up. It's quite simple. Wrap it up. But instead, he would end up convincing Courtney to now make the 10-hour drive back to Huntsville, Alabama for a second time.
And her father told her, be careful with this guy, because things weren't adding up, what she was telling me. And to that, she just said, well, Mom, will you be mad if I keep talking to him? I said, you could talk to him all you want. I said, but I don't think this is a good idea. I see a lot of red flags. I want you to be careful.
Even went as far as to send her money for gas and to pay for a hotel room for her in Alabama, which probably should have been a huge red flag, because if you're going to Alabama to go move in and live with him and start your lives together, what would you need a hotel room for? That doesn't make sense. Unless Alabama is just that big. I don't understand why you would need a hotel room. Her mother begged her not to go, but the sad truth is that she was an adult and that they couldn't stop her. On January 7th, 2022, Courtney arrives at the Weston Ranch Apartments where McCoy lived to give their relationship another chance. I'm also sure that she probably didn't want to have another baby with another man that also lived in another state and that she wasn't with. Which is probably, as alarming, so while it's alarming that she went back to him after the cornfield incident, it's somewhat understandable why she did. And I'm sure she never expected it to end up like this. Nobody expected it to end up the way it ends up. I would also guess that she was probably trying to talk herself into the reason for the incident being that he was just scared to become a father. But probably figuring, especially because she was a mom already, so she's probably telling herself he's just scared to be a father. After he meets Addison May, he's going to fall in love with her and they're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. And we're going to raise her together. Okay. So this is how the story goes. From everything that we know so far, McCoy actually hasn't been sentenced yet. So I'm sure that more will come out as time goes on. Sometime between 10 and 10:16 a.m. on January 7th, 2022, McCoy shoots Courtney in the head with a weapon that is not his service revolver. He then grabs her phone, runs back up to his apartment, and throws her phone, his clothes, and the gun in his closet.
Even though I was trying to unwind from work, a sense of anxiety kicked in so deep and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And he just took her from me. He took her from me.
From there, he calls the non-emergency line and reports that he has heard gunshots and that he believes that somebody has unalived themselves in their car. On top of being a Madison County police officer, McCoy was also a courtesy officer at the apartment complex, but he happened to be off duty at the time of the shooting. Once officers arrived at the scene, McCoy went back outside to help with the investigation. He told investigators that he had never met Courtney, and he even began to assist the first responding officer with CPR. As more officers began to arrive, though, his story began to unravel very quickly. For starters, they found a picture of McCoy in his service uniform in the visor of Courtney's car. But you've never laid eyes on her, right? That's when he told officers that he had only met her once. Really, dude? Really? About 50 minutes into the investigation, officers on the scene knew that something wasn't right, and they phoned their captain to inform him of what was going on and to turn in their brother in blue. That's what they did. You got to give them credit. When the captain arrived at the scene, he began to take over. He placed David McCoy on leave and collected all of his Huntsville Police Department equipment. So before the end of that night, detectives had enough information to arrest and charge McCoy with the murder of Courtney Spraggins. They found where McCoy had hidden Courtney's phone, the clothing, and the murder weapon. Inside of his police cruiser, they found the baby sonogram picture, and they found mail that was addressed to Courtney Spraggins. But you've never laid eyes on her, then you've only met her once. They tested him for gunshot residue, which came back positive. So, come on, man. The jig is up. He was denied bail, placed on unexcused leave without pay, fired from the Huntsville Police Department, and stripped of all police certifications, authorities, and had his account locked. During the interrogation, McCoy would change his story several times. Then after about 5 hours, he finally came clean and said, "I did it." Courtney was buzzed into the complex at 8:04 a.m. The two went for a ride and arrived back at the complex at 9:40 a.m. Her last text message would be to her father at 10 a.m., which said, "I'm here," to which he replied, "Okay, be safe." The stepfather says that by 10:16 a.m., his daughter was no longer on this earth. It is highly likely that Courtney didn't text her parents when she initially arrived at the complex and then waited until their drive was over to text them. I know what you're thinking, that could have been McCoy that texted them, but it wasn't. Because when officers found the phone, they had to wait to get into the phone for several hours because the phone had internally locked itself. Okay, so what do I mean? I know iPhones do it. I don't know if like Samsungs do, but basically it only allows you to put the wrong password in so many times to unlock the phone. And in the beginning, I think it locks for like 3 minutes or something. But as you keep putting in the wrong password, it locks longer and longer and longer. So it could not have been him that texted her parents because he couldn't get into the phone. He locked himself out from putting the wrong password in so many times. The most likely motive, you ask? Well, it actually seems that McCoy was engaged to another woman he was also living with. And to be clear, unless something new comes out, Courtney was unaware of this woman, and this woman was unaware of her. He was originally charged with capital murder for Courtney, but as time went on, he would receive more charges, as he should. On March 24th, 2023, McCoy was indicted and charged with the capital murder of Courtney Spraggins, killing 2 or more people in one instance, which is Courtney and the baby, because the baby counts as a person, and I hate when they don't count the baby as a person. The baby is a person. So kudos to you, Alabama. and killing a child less than 14 years of age, which is the baby. Prosecutors have also come out to say that Alabama does have the death penalty and that they will be seeking death for McCoy. Her stepfather wrote on Facebook, quote, "Taken from her mother, taken from her sister and brothers, taken from us. You were murdered in cold blood by a so-called man who said he would protect her and love her because of an act of evil and greed of a deceiving, womanizing, cheating fucktard." I love that word. I do. I love that word. All she wanted was to be loved by a truly good man. I'm sorry you couldn't find that in your short 26-year life. It breaks my heart knowing how hard you tried. Every day I live with the guilt that I couldn't protect you when this went down. It has changed me physically and mentally. Holidays are so bittersweet now, but we decorate for you because you loved it so much. We miss you every day, Courtney, and our beloved grandchild, Addison, who never got a chance at this life. The pain will never go away. We will have justice, baby girl. His crime will not overshadow your memory. We know you are with us, baby girl. God forgives. I don't. Love, Mommy and Daddy. And as if this story can't get any more fucked up, I have one more thing to tell you guys. McCoy's first defense attorney, Richard Jensen, asked that Courtney's body be preserved after the state completes its autopsy so that they could perform a private autopsy. First of all, can you do that? Can the defense request a private autopsy be done by someone that they hire? Because that doesn't seem right. If you know the answer to that, let me know. That doesn't seem right. It could very well be true. I don't know. But aside from that, Jensen withdrew from the case after news station Way 32. I can't. I feel fucked up even saying this. Okay. After news station Way 32 reported that he attempted to get them to promote his movie premiere for an official interview. Guys, I know it sounds like complete BS. Hand to God, I could never make something like that up.
McCoy's first attorney, Richard Jensen, had also asked that the body of the victim, Courtney Spraggins, who was pregnant, be preserved for an independent autopsy after the state's exam. You may remember Jensen withdrew from this case after our reporting of his attempts to get us to cover his movie premiere in exchange for giving us an interview.
I will laugh in her honor. I will dance in her honor. I will love in her honor. I mean, that's all I can do.
All right, guys. I know if you're still here, thank you. I think he's back in court this month. So stay with me because I'm going to follow it and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully, the Spraggins family gets the justice that they deserve. So if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please do so. And until next time, stay safe out there.